Imagine this, a cold-hearted billionaire woman walks into a cemetery on the 10th anniversary of her father's death, expecting a quiet, private moment with his grave. But what she sees next stops her dead in her tracks. A poor, crying single dad janitor is kneeling at her billionaire father's grave, sobbing uncontrollably, holding nothing but cheap wildflowers wrapped in old newspaper. She gets angry and demands to know why this stranger is there. Then he whispers the words that completely destroy her world. "Your father didn't just know me, he secretly saved my life and my dying daughter's life for years, while hiding it from his own family." What this exhausted single father did next left the billionaire in tears, shattered every belief she had about her father, and revealed a shocking secret that no one in the family ever knew. This emotional graveside meeting between a billionaire CEO and a broke janitor will completely change how you look at kindness, family, and second chances. If you love heartwarming true story style videos that will restore your faith in humanity, stay till the end, you won't believe what happens. If you're watching this right now, hit like and subscribe for more powerful stories like this. And comment below, where are you watching from? Let me know in the comments. Every year, on the anniversary of her father's death, Elena Voss returned to the quiet hillside cemetery just outside the city. As the CEO of Voss Global, a multi-billion-dollar empire in renewable energy, she was used to boardrooms filled with powerful men who feared her sharp decisions and colder stares. But here, among the marble stones and whispering wind, she allowed herself one moment of vulnerability. This year marked the 10th anniversary. Elena arrived in her sleek black Mercedes, dressed in a tailored charcoal coat that cost more than most people's yearly rent. She carried a single white rose, her father's favorite, and a quiet hope that the ache in her chest might finally dull. Leonard Voss had been her hero, her mentor, the man who built their family fortune from nothing. Or so she thought. As she approached the familiar plot, her heels clicking softly on the path, Elena froze. Someone was already there. A man in a faded gray janitor's uniform knelt before her father's grave. His shoulders shook with heavy, broken sobs. In his calloused hands, he clutched a small, wilted bouquet of wildflowers, clearly picked from the roadside, wrapped in crumpled newspaper. He wasn't just crying. He was weeping like a man who had lost everything. Elena's first instinct was irritation. This was her private moment. Who was this stranger, daring to intrude on her father's resting place? Then she heard him whisper through the tears. "Mr. Voss, Leonard, I'm so sorry I couldn't come last year. The hospital bills, little Mia was so sick. But I'm here now. Thank you. God, thank you for everything you did for us." Elena's blood ran cold. He knew her father's first name. Not many people did. Leonard Voss had been a private man, a legend in business circles but a ghost to the public eye. She stepped closer, her designer shoes sinking slightly into the damp grass. "Excuse me," she said, her voice sharp but trembling. "Who are you, and what are you doing at my father's grave?" The man startled, wiping his face roughly with the sleeve of his uniform. He looked up, mid-30s, exhausted eyes, stubble on his jaw, and a name tag that read, Daniel Reyes, Maintenance. A single dad vibe radiated off him. Tired but gentle, the kind of man who worked double shifts just to keep the lights on. I'm sorry, ma'am," Daniel stammered, standing quickly. His eyes were red-rimmed, but there was no shame in them, only raw grief. "I didn't mean to disturb you. I'll go." He turned to leave, but Elena blocked his path. "You said his name, Leonard. How did you know my father?" Daniel hesitated, glancing back at the headstone as if drawing strength from it. Then he sighed, his broad shoulders slumping. "Because he saved my life. And my daughter's." What happened next would change Elena's world forever. Daniel sat on the nearby bench, and Elena, against every instinct of her guarded billionaire heart, sat beside him. The wind picked up, carrying the scent of fresh earth and distant rain. "I was a mechanic," Daniel began, his voice low and steady despite the fresh tears. 6 years ago, my wife passed away from cancer. Left me with our 3-year-old daughter, Mia. I was drowning. Medical bills, rent, no family nearby. I lost my job when I missed too many shifts taking care of her. We ended up in a shelter. I was ready to give up." Elena listened, her perfectly manicured hands clenched in her lap. Her father had never mentioned any of this. Leonard Voss had been a ruthless businessman, brilliant, demanding, sometimes cold. The man who taught her that emotions were weaknesses in the boardroom. One night, Daniel continued, I was working a temp cleaning job at one of your father's office buildings downtown. It was after midnight. I found him in the lobby, working late like always. He saw me mopping the floor with Mia asleep in a makeshift crib I'd made from boxes. Most people would have called security. He sat down and talked to me. Daniel's voice cracked. He asked about my daughter. I told him everything. The next day, he showed up at the shelter with a check. Not a handout, a real opportunity. He paid off all our medical debt. Got me a full-time janitor position at one of his smaller facilities with benefits, flexible hours for Mia's appointments. But he didn't stop there. Alina's breath caught. What do you mean? He became like a grandfather to Mia, Daniel said, smiling through the pain. Every month, he'd visit. Bring her books, toys, clothes that actually fit. He helped me enroll her in a good preschool. When she got really sick with pneumonia 2 years ago, he covered the hospital stay and flew in a specialist from New York. No one knew. He made me promise not to tell anyone, especially his family. Said it wasn't about publicity. It was just the right thing. Tears stung Alina's eyes now. Her father, the same man who once fired a VP for showing up late to a merger meeting. The one who drilled into her that charity begins and ends at home. I tried to repay him, Daniel whispered. Told him I'd work harder, do anything. He just laughed and said, son, some debts you pay forward. Last year, when I couldn't visit because Mia was in the ICU again, he called me. Told me stories about his own rough start, how his father died young and he had to scrape by. He said he saw himself in me. Daniel reached into his pocket and pulled out a worn photograph. It showed a younger Leonard Voss smiling broadly, arm around a tiny Mia who was laughing on a carousel. Elena had never seen this picture. Her father looked happy. Truly happy, in a way she rarely remembered from her own childhood. I came today because it's the anniversary, Daniel said. And because Mia's doing better now. She's 7, top of her class, wants to be a doctor someday, because of the doctors your dad helped us reach. I bring her here sometimes, but today she had school. I wanted to thank him alone. Elena stared at the photo, her world cracking open. All those late nights her father spent at the office. The unexplained absences. The quiet sadness in his eyes during family dinners. She had assumed it was the weight of running an empire. But it was this, quiet, invisible acts of kindness that no headline would ever capture. What shocked her next wasn't just the revelation. It was what Daniel did when he saw the tears finally spill down her cheeks. Without hesitation, this broke, exhausted single dad janitor reached over and gently placed the cheap wildflower bouquet in her hands. He would want you to have these too, he said softly. And, if it's okay, maybe I can bring Mia next time. She'd love to meet the daughter he was so proud of. Elena broke down then, sobbing into her hands for the first time in years. Not the polished, controlled tears of a grieving heiress, but the raw grief of a daughter realizing she never fully knew her father. In that moment, the billionaire and the janitor sat side by side, two worlds colliding at a graveside. But the story doesn't end with tears. Weeks later, Elena did something no one expected. She tracked Daniel down at the modest maintenance office where he still worked. When he saw her, he looked nervous, as if expecting her to demand he stay away. Instead, she handed him an envelope. Inside wasn't just money. It was a new life. I've set up a trust for Mia's education, full ride, anywhere she wants to go, Elena said, her voice steady but warm. And for you, I'm offering you a position at Voss Global. Not as a janitor. As head of our new community outreach program. You'll oversee scholarships, medical aid, and support for single parents, just like my father did for you. Quietly. No spotlight unless you want it. Daniel stared, stunned. Ma'am, I'm just a janitor. I don't have a degree. I clean floors. Elena smiled, the first genuine smile she'd felt in a long time. My father started with less. He saw something in you. Now I do too. And honestly, after everything, I need someone like you on my team. Someone who remembers what real kindness looks like when no one's watching. Daniel accepted, but not before making one request. Let me keep cleaning sometimes. Reminds me where I came from. Over the next year, their unlikely friendship blossomed. Mia became a regular at Elena's home, playing in the massive garden, calling her Aunt Elena. Daniel helped Elena rediscover the softer side of her father's legacy. Together, they expanded the secret acts of kindness Leonard Voss had started, turning them into a foundation that quietly changed hundreds of lives. At the next anniversary, they visited the grave together, Elena, Daniel, and little Mia, now holding a much bigger bouquet. Mia placed flowers on the headstone and whispered, "Thank you, Grandpa Leonard. I'm going to help people too, just like you." Elena looked at Daniel, the man whose tears at a stranger's grave had shattered her illusions and rebuilt her heart. "You shocked me that day," she told him quietly. "Not because you were crying, but because you showed me the man my father really was. The best version of him." Daniel simply nodded, eyes misty again. "He saved us. Now we get to pay it forward." And as the sun set over the hillside, 3 lives, once separated by wealth, status, and sorrow, stood united. A billionaire who learned humility, a single dad janitor who found purpose beyond survival, and a little girl who would carry her, grandpa's, kindness into the future. Sometimes, the most shocking thing at a graveside isn't the tears. It's the second chances that bloom from them.